Give it a little time here. Thank you and welcome. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It's going to be a great night. My name is Bruce Arlen. I've organized this debate forum this evening. First, I just want to thank David Court, who runs this library, and Ashley Ware, who's the Director of Special Projects and Events. I just want everybody to know, and you probably do, but this library runs completely on the donations, or should I say the generous donations of the people in this community, completely. And in fact, I think it might be the only one in the country. It's a pretty amazing place. So, having said that, I really also want to thank the candidates who donate their very precious personal time to participate as both candidates and council people and mayors. Nobody gets paid. It's a pretty big deal. But tonight is important because Cave Creek has entered another political season. And I think everybody might agree one way or another that we're at a crossroads. We're at a crossroads regarding our future. And Cave Creek is becoming increasingly important as one of the last, if not the last, rural community nestled next to the big metropolis. Can we protect our town, or will we inexorably change over time into just a cool suburb of Scottsdale and Phoenix? That's a possibility. Which way will we go? And by whose vision and leadership will we be guided into the next phase? Tonight you will hear from the very people aspiring to be in the position to vote on your behalf. So what they say means a great deal. I will be your timekeeper tonight. We have many, many candidates. We have a lot to cover. And we're going to do our best, we will do our best actually, to move this thing along. So it's designed so the questions are pre-designed, and you're not going to have a chance to ask questions, but you'll have a chance to fidget in your seat. Now, let me introduce our expert moderator, Ken Strobeck. He serves and has served as an executive. Ken's a great guy. He's the executive director of the League of Arizona Cities and Towns, and he's served in that position for the last 13 years. The League's primary purpose is to promote and support good municipal government in Arizona. Another big deal. Ken and his organization represent the interests of all 91 Arizona cities and towns, including Cave Creek. We're lucky to have such a knowledgeable person to be our impartial third-party moderator. Please give Ken Strobeck a warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Bruce, and thank you to everyone in the audience. Thank you for attending this event tonight. As we begin the program, I want to recognize each of the candidates for their willingness to serve their fellow citizens as elected officials. Now, few people understand the major time commitment involved in elective office and the heavy responsibility you assume for making decisions that affect the residents and businesses in your community. Being selected by your neighbors to represent their interests on the town council is a great honor, and it can also be frustrating and worrisome. No one will please all the people all the time. Any single vote may anger one group of people and please others, and that's just part of the nature of the position. But serving in elective office is also a highly rewarding experience and enables you to imprint the community with some of your values and provides, by working productively with your fellow elected officials, the ability to move the community forward. So thank you to each of you for putting yourself forward for this election. Your willingness to serve is greatly appreciated. Now, in tonight's program, the audience will have the opportunity to hear you answer a series of questions that will give voters an idea of the community issue priorities and your approach to problem solving. There are no right or wrong answers. Your comments will give your fellow citizens the opportunity to evaluate each of you as a community leader and provide insight into your qualifications. Tonight's event is a forum, not a pure debate, so the candidates for mayor and town council will be answering the same questions, allowing citizens to see how each one of you addresses a particular issue. For the audience, please be respectful of all the candidates. No cheering or booing during the presentations, but you can applaud at the end of a candidate's statement if you wish. Now, Bruce, as he mentioned, will be our timekeeper, and I ask each of the candidates to end your responses when you hear the alarm tone. So now let's begin with the 1-minute opening statements from the 2 mayoral candidates, and by a flip of the coin, first, Mayor Ernie Bunch.
You know what? I don't like to talk. I don't like to talk all that much, so can you start my time yet, please? No. First chord. Part of what I think is Cave Creek. I hear people talking about what Cave Creek is. Oh my God. Open space, Sonoran desert. Lively town core, restaurants and music, Western heritage, horses galore. My vision, preserve it all. Any town has challenges. I screwed this up so bad. Wrote it this afternoon and forgot the tune. Okay, in my business, I let them head on. We can do this if we all get along. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Opening statement from Councilmember Eileen Wright.
I am Cave Creek through and through, and I would be delighted and it would be a privilege to serve as your full-time mayor. Living in Cave Creek is a privilege, and with that privilege comes the obligation to preserve what we have. The day I am sworn in as your mayor, I will make it a priority to preserve our low-density, rural, and western lifestyle. For the past 2 years, I have been proud to serve as your councilwoman. But with all due respect, our town does not have the leadership it requires. That's where I come in. I'm a tough, no-nonsense person who takes all of this very, very seriously. As a council person, I have introduced numerous very serious agenda items, everything from a code of conduct to a drought preparedness plan. This is a serious job to me, and I will take it that way, and I will be a full-time mayor, which means I will commit all of my time to it. Thank you.
All right, question number 1. Mayor Bunch, based on a looming likelihood of large costs to repair and upgrade the town's water infrastructure, what financing tools do you think make the most sense for Cave Creek residents?
Well, we've had a, that's a hot microphone. We've had a rate study going on. There may be a slight increase at some point in time. But we do have, this year's budget is about $2.5 million more than it was before, because we're rehabbing the 4 filter systems in the water treatment plant, and we're also replacing we're going to replace all of the main pumps that bring the water up from the canal, and that money was actually already in an account. So we've gone bigger, but we're actually finally fixing things that we needed to fix a long time ago, probably. Is that close? 22 seconds. Oh God, you're having a guitar again? I don't need to take it all.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Wright, same question.
Yes. This is a big issue for us, and we need to do some smart financing. One would be to possibly sell one of the water companies we have, called the Desert Hills Water Company. We need to keep our Cave Creek Water Company, because without our own water, our future could be at risk. So we have to be able to control our own water, but we don't need to have two water companies. And the Desert Hill Water Company is expanding, it's developing very fast, and it's going to use some of our CAP or our CAP water, which we are going to need for Cave Creek residents. We need to start some smart financing. We need to look more closely at our budget, which could have been reduced substantially, and focus on just the main issues that we have at hand.
Mayor Bunch, you may have a
Yeah, it's not so, I mean, it's easy to say, yeah, let's sell a water company, but you don't exactly put on Craigslist or our website and try and get it for sale. It's got to be someone that actually needs it. Conversations have gone on with some folks, and of course you don't divulge details in public when you're trying to negotiate.
Question number 2. This will be for Councilmember Wright to answer first. Do you think Cave Creek's complaint-driven law enforcement policy is working, and why or why not?
I do not think it is working, because there is no such thing as a complaint-driven system. That means only if somebody complains about something do you enforce the law. If the law is on the books and it is not any good and it serves no purpose, then we need to get rid of it. But if it is good, then we need to enforce the law equally across all of the residents, not have selective enforcement, which turns into cronyism.
We've had complaint-driven system forever, and quite frankly, I think that's the right way to go. You don't realize how large the HOA is that you actually live in. There's a lot of rules and regulations. I guarantee there's not one person in this room right now who doesn't have some violation that they could get picked up or get in trouble for. I think it's a dangerous thing to take a look at what the cost would be involved in the enforcement that Councilwoman Wright is talking about. You would have to have a full-time compliance officer who would be out looking for things, looking over your fence, your backyard. I don't want anybody doing that to me. I prefer complaint-driven.
Do I get a rebuttal on that?
15 seconds.
Okay. Because you said 15 seconds on the information you've given.
Oh, well, there's one answer, and then one response to that answer.
Oh.
It's two responses and then one rebuttal in each question. For question number 3, how can Cave Creek balance its stated emphasis on low density? Sorry, hey, audience. All right, we'll do that. We will go with that, but please.
Yeah, totally fair.
Yeah. Then you get another.
I do get a 15-second.
Yes.
Okay, this is a.
That's fault for you, Eileen.
That's just what I need. Thank you, Mayor Bunch. Okay. Anyway, now I forgot what the question was. Oh, it's about a complaint-driven system. The bottom line is, if you have a law in place, you enforce it. You don't go looking over somebody's backyard to see if they have the wrong colored flowers planted. This is just general enforcement across the board for our health, safety, and welfare. And we also have the Sheriff's Department, which that is part of their job description as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that was my mistake. All right, question number 3. How can Cave Creek balance its stated emphasis on low-density rural residential environment versus the reality of continuing growth? Mayor Bunch, this is your question.
One of the things that the council has done since I was mayor was last December, we passed a water policy which requires developers to actually bring water. That is going to actually deter development in the long run, I believe. I don't think we're going to see the high density stuff. High density, you know, we have never, to my knowledge, upzoned anything that was away from the core or away from the economic center, which is Carefree Highway and Cave Creek Road down there. If we have, I'm not aware of it. They're, I mean, reasonably close. I don't really think it's. I think it's more of a scare tactic than it is a reality that we're going to be trying to put huge high density. I mean, even Cahaba Springs was a win. They had 900 acres zone 1 per acre, and they got something like 235 houses out there. So we've done a good job over the years, and we'll continue to do a good job.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Same question.
When we're looking at this, when we want to protect our low density, it's the most important thing we have in this whole town is our low density, our large parcel zonings. And what I do, every decision I make, it has to do, there's a decision with that. I will try to always leave the land better than I found it. I will consider the absolute essential resource of water in every decision I make. And I make only decisions that save this rural, low-density way of life. It's important to all of us. And as part of it is the economic development we have. And you have to be sure your economic development meets 3 criteria. Economy. Is this economic development going to bring sales tax revenue to the town or not? Ecology. Does the project that's planned benefit and safeguard the other neighborhoods around? And does it preserve our desert? And the culture. Is it the culture that we want here? So all of it. Then can't forget also the debt. If we lessen our debt, we don't need as much money, and we can not worry about our low density. I personally would never upzone a piece of property, and it's been done on a regular basis.
Mayor, do you wish to respond?
Yeah, I'm not aware of all those huge upzonings that have hurt the neighborhoods. Yeah. Anyway.
Please.
That's all right.
Councilmember, you want to respond?
So that's fine. I didn't understand a word you said. That's fine.
I didn't either.
Okay.
All right. Question number 4. This is for Councilmember Wright first. What principles should guide the growth of Cave Creek's historic town core entertainment and tourist district?
I love this one, okay? Number 1, our town core is very, very special to all of us. It's our big sales tax revenue generating area. But we need to abide by our ordinances, our noise ordinance as well as our sign ordinance. Those are the 2 things that have kind of gotten out of control in our town core. We need to have both of those in place so that everybody will be able to enjoy the town core, the tourists and us as well, and not the neighbors. We don't want our neighbors to have to say during, for example, one of the noisy times of your bike week, to have to leave their homes for 10 days because things have gotten out of control. We need to be able to control our town core, and we also need to revitalize it. We need to bring in the medians, bring back the plants, make it look beautiful, because it's an important thing to all of us.
Mayor, your answer to the question.
Yeah, the town core is the heart and soul of the community. It is our identity. It is who we are. You move out of the way, you get to the Western heritage in town. You get quite a bit of that. That's why people come up here, spend money, and go home. That's good for all of us. We don't have a property tax that goes directly to the town of Cave Creek in our property tax bills. So we get 31% of our revenue from sales tax. The core is a wonderful thing. As far as Bike Week, that was started probably seriously about 11 years ago or 12 years ago. It may look like chaos. It is controlled. What happens if we say no more and they show up anyway? There's nothing in line to make it any kind of resemblance to normalcy.
Councilmember, you may have 30 seconds for a response.
Yes, when we're talking about the town core, and let's go Bike Week, it's gotten out of control. It needs to have some discipline to it so that everybody can enjoy it. The people that live in the area don't need to have to leave their homes. Everything needs to have some level of control to it, and we've lost that on our town core on that particular event.
Do you wish to respond, ma'am? Question number 5. In Arizona's council manager form of local government, mayor and council set policy and exercise power by passing ordinances and resolutions with a majority vote. Describe your ability to facilitate discussion and reach consensus among council members. Council member, this is your question, please.
Oh, okay. I'm a big fan of bringing forward really important agenda items to the council, whether it's a financial forecasting agenda item, whether it's what I just mentioned about things to do with water. It's a very important part of who we are and where we go forward. And to me, That's one of the big responsibilities of a council person, is to bring forward very important agenda items, discuss them, and hopefully go forward.
Mayor, your answer to the question.
Well, I think we've done a pretty good job in the last year and a half that we've been in this session of the council. I think we've done a pretty good job of passing stuff that counts. We don't have too many goofy votes. We're mostly are people agree with what we're doing. So the consensus comes from having good ideas. If you've got harebrained ideas, then those don't pass, and we've had some of those as well. The council manager form of government, it's imperative that the council members do not try to micromanage staff, which can happen and does happen, and is not a good thing, because we're not the experts. You've got staff that are experts and know what they're doing, and I am concerned that staff is under a lot of undue pressure from people wanting things and directing them singly when they shouldn't be doing it.
Council member, you may respond.
Yes. I think I'll pass, thank you.
All right. You don't need to respond to that. You may if you wish.
I pass on her pass.
All right, question number 6. What would you say is Cave Creek's single biggest asset? Mayor, this is your question, please.
Oh my goodness, yeah, this is going to get some boos and some heckles, but the single biggest asset as far as financial asset has got to be the water company. We're paying it down in about 9 or 10 years when it's done. All of the revenue that comes from that will go to fix all the things we want. We might watch my tongue, can't do a thing with it. We might want parks. We might want more trails. We might want improvements at Spurcross. There are any number of things are going to happen down the road with the long view. Take a short view, $40 million, oh my gosh, we're dying, but we're not. We're making the payments every year.
Councilmember?
To me, the most important asset we have is just plain water, just our CAP, our cap water. Because without that, we have nothing. Our water company means nothing to us at all. I've spent 4 or 5 years attending every single CAP or Arizona Department of Water Resource seminar that's available. I'm attending another one the 1st of August on the law of the Colorado River. And our water is our very biggest and important investment we have, period. And because there are issues with it, and because there is a chance of cutbacks eventually, we need to take this seriously and really protect our CAP water allocation.
Mayor, do you wish a response?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. We need to protect it. We're a town of 5,100. The CAP feeds every major city in the southern half of the state. Our input to CAP is not going to make an awful lot. We just need to be smart with the resource.
Councilmember, do you wish to respond?
No, thank you.
Next question. Do you support or oppose the proposed 2018 general plan, and why or why not? Councilmember, your answer.
The general plan and I have a lot of history. We've been together since the one before this that was rejected, soundly rejected by the voters. One of the problems with the one we had before us now, it used that document as its baseline document. So therefore it's brought forward some of the same problems that we had to begin with. This general plan, any general plan, is supposed to be a vision statement. This is not a vision statement. This is more of a mandate toward a policy. So, my opinion, I would reject this general plan.
Mayor, your answer to the question.
With my apologies to the staff and everyone who put in so many long hours on this, I don't really care for the document either. There's some things in there that Councilwoman Wright was involved in lobbying the Planning Commission to get in there. I don't believe they belong in there, and it makes it way too hard. It's not chiseled in stone plan. It's something that's just kind of a guiding thing. It's got way too much detail, and the trails section, which is part of who we are, has been stripped out of it.
Councilmember,
And I agree 100%. Wow.
all right, moving on. Next question. What is the greatest challenge to the success of Cave Creek over the next 5 to 10 years? Mayor Bunch, you give this question first.
Oh my goodness, there can be so many challenges over the next 5 to 10 years, and you've got to be able to look over the horizon to see them. I think that the concern is changing demographics for me. You've got people over in California who are selling their houses for $2 million and moving to Cave Creek and buying a $1 million house, paying it off, and they're going to bring their ideas about how the government should be run and how many services should be supplied to us. I think changing demographics to me are one of my most fearful things. I was in California when I was a kid and moved away from there over 40 years ago, and I hate to see them bring the changes to our state and turn us into what they've become.
Councilman,
You know, there are so many things that make Cave Creek very, very special. It's our love of the land. It's the way we live. It's the rural community we want to keep. And that's, to me, what we're talking about right here. Where else can you go down and hike on a game trail and be hunted by a pack of coyotes, or come eye to eye with a real crabby rattlesnake, or see up close and personal a pair of bighorn sheep? This is what we want to keep, our rural lifestyle. We don't want to have curbs. We don't want to have sidewalks. We want to have as little asphalt as possible. So to me, that's how we reach our goal. We keep this, I mean, this is our home. We need to keep this rural, and we need to keep it just like it is now. Change is inevitable. With change comes some growth, but we do not want to urbanize our town.
Mayor?
And I believe it's a change in demographics that'll bring the things to us that the Councilwoman Wright is afraid of, and I concur with that.
Did you wish a response, Councilmember?
That's one great thing.
We get along pretty well.
Next question is the open-ended one, and we'll start with Councilmember Wright. Is there any topic we've missed that you would like to address?
Yes. Our past, and I mean our past, is the only measure of our performance. So when you're going on a job interview, you bring your past, you bring your resume. We have to have council people and mayors that have a past that shows who they are, what they've accomplished, all that they've gone and done forward. I, for example, have a BS from the University of New Mexico. I own my own business, the Desert Firearm Training Center, where I've taught awareness skills and all the way for 10 years. I have been named an All-American triathlete, and I competed as a member of Team USA across North America. This is part of my past. This is what brings me here. This is my background that makes me able to serve you with honor.
Well, I fished the first U.S. Open bass tournament at Lake Mead in 1982. Didn't finish well. Roland Martin beat me. You know, talking about the past, I've supported Councilwoman Wright a couple of times and voted against her once. And that was when we removed her from the Planning Commission. The reason we did that was because she tried to deny due process to a developer, and he would be more willing to tell you all about it. So that scares me. We've had times in our past where the insurance pool has threatened to cancel our insurance because we've had too many lawsuits for doing things and messing with people's property rights. That's the background. That's the past that I see with my opponent.
And when I'm talking about your past, I'm talking about your personal past. What do you, as a mayor, bring to this community? What is your past experience that brings and makes you somebody that can do a good job and serve this community to the best of your ability?
Yeah, how much time do I get?
You can have another 30 seconds.
Yeah, my past is over 40 years in a manufacturing business here in town. We ship products globally. I have designed equipment work with, handled huge sales. I'm familiar with an outfit that has had as many as 99 employees because one more would have put us under federal guidelines and we didn't want to go there. It is one of those, it's just part of who I am is being successful in business and bring those talents to the town of Cave Creek in the long run.
All right. That concludes the question and answer section of the program. You now have, each of you have up to 2 minutes to make a closing statement. And first, Mayor Bunch.
I'll just do y'all a favor and leave the guitar in the case. Doesn't work out so well. It's been a pleasure for the last year and a half as all this council has been been seated. It's been a real pleasure and a lot of fun representing you guys. I know we don't always get along. I know you don't always agree with what we're doing, but we're making headway moving forward. We're doing things now. The things I mentioned before, the cap line improvements and the filter improvements at the water plant are things that we need to get done. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that when you're in negotiations, you're doing stuff you don't talk about in public, and unfortunately things aren't moving as fast as I'd like to see, because that's the way it works. The government does not move at the same pace that the private sector does, because if it does, you make huge mistakes. You have to slow down, you have to breathe deep, you have to study hard what you're doing to make sure that you're not doing that. And that's what we've been doing. We've got an incredible staff. We hired Carrie Dyrek as our town manager, who is just a stalwart, upstanding individual who's got the finest character of anybody that I've worked with in local government. And she doesn't take any garbage from anybody, and she does things by the book, which is something that we've needed for a long time in this town. And I kind of waded through just to get to that, to see it. I just want to see us move forward. I want 2 more years. I want 2 more years. 2 years. A 2-year term is not long enough to ride a ship. And I think we're making the turn, getting things going in the right direction now.
Yes. Okay.
Remember your closing statement.
May I?
Yes.
Okay. That was an interesting comment from our mayor, because he's been serving for 13 years. To me, that would be plenty of time to make some good progress and make some of the decisions that you felt were essential to go forward. But the bottom line is, this is it. With the election only a few weeks away, it's finally crunch time. And this election is about one issue above all others: the survival of our town. That is why it's important that you elect me as your mayor. The real decision in this mayoral race is, do you want a few businesses to determine the future of Cave Creek, or do you want the residents to determine the future of Cave Creek? Because you, the residents, to me, come first above all else. And I will stand by you at all times, and I will fight for moral reason with you at all times. And let's stop for just a second and back up a little bit and envision the town in 2020, when I would have been the mayor for 2 years. What will you see? We will have safeguarded our very valuable cap allocation, and based on a recharge agenda item that I brought forward as a council person, we are now on our way to getting a Department of Water Resources approval to build a recharge facility. The town is abiding by the basic laws of economics, which means we can't have everything we want, only what we can afford. And by following this policy, we have greatly reduced our budget. The town and staff is back on a full-time schedule, full-time, working 5 days a week. Our bike week is under control, working well, is calm, and everybody is happy. And for the first time in 20 years, the noise and sign ordinances are being strictly enforced. Remember this October. The choice is yours, and God bless our little town.
Audience, please thank both of our mayoral candidates. We'll now take a very brief 5-minute break to reset the podium for the town council candidates, and so please be ready to resume shortly.